Loving the gym is not the same thing as needing it. And that distinction matters more than most people want to admit. Here's the thing about gym addiction. It doesn't look like what you think addiction looks like. There's no chaos, no visible spiral. No one stages an intervention because you hit legs too hard. In fact, it often looks like the opposite: discipline, commitment. Someone who has their life together. That's what makes it tricky. When a behavior everyone praises starts running you instead of serving you, nobody notices, including you. Most lifters will never deal with this. Systematic reviews estimate that somewhere around 3 to 7% of regular exercisers show patterns consistent with exercise dependence, depending on how it's measured. That's not a lot, but rare doesn't mean impossible. And if you're the kind of person who watches videos like this one, someone already deep in the culture, someone who takes training seriously, you're exactly the type who should hear this out. This video is called 10 Signs You're a Gym Addict and It's Very Rare. It's not here to shame you for being dedicated. It's not here to tell you to train less or feel bad about loving what you do. It's here to explore that quiet line where a healthy habit starts acting like compulsion, where training stops being something you choose and becomes something you can't say no to, where it controls your mood, your decisions, your relationships, and your sense of self. One disclaimer before we go any further. This is general information, not medical advice. Nothing here is diagnosis. These are patterns worth reflecting on, not boxes to check. If something resonates, sit with it. If it doesn't, move on. 10 signs. Some will feel like a punch. Others will feel like a slow realization. Let's get into it. Number 1. Training controls your mood for the entire day. You wake up knowing today is a rest day. By noon, you're irritable. By 3 o'clock, you're snapping at people for no reason. By evening, you're restless, pacing, unable to settle into anything. You're not sad. You're not angry. You're just off, like something is missing, and your brain won't let you forget it. Now imagine someone describes this exact feeling to you, but about alcohol or cigarettes. You'd call it withdrawal. But when it's about the gym, people call it passion. Gym culture celebrates the training saves my sanity mindset. And honestly, for most people, it's true. Exercise really does help regulate mood. The problem isn't that training improves how you feel. The problem is when training becomes a gatekeeper. When you can't access a stable mood without completing the ritual first. When everything else in your day, your work, your patience, your relationships, gets dragged behind your training status like cargo. This is one of the patterns researchers look at when studying exercise dependence. Withdrawal-like symptoms, irritability, anxiety, restlessness when you can't train, not disappointment, not preference, discomfort that feels almost chemical, the kind that doesn't respond to logic. Here's a question worth sitting with. If you couldn't train for 7 days straight, would you still feel like yourself? Not would you be annoyed or would you miss it? That's normal. But would you still be able to function emotionally? Would you still recognize the person in the mirror? The answer to that question is more revealing than any progress photo. Training should support your mood. When it starts dictating it, you're no longer in control of the habit. The habit is in control of you. Number 2, you feel guilty when you rest. It's Sunday. You train hard all week. Your program says rest. Your body says rest. But the moment you sit down to do nothing, something twists in your stomach. Not boredom. Guilt. Like you're getting away with something you shouldn't be getting away with. So you go for a walk. Then the walk becomes a jog. Then you throw in some light stretching that somehow includes band pull-aparts, core work, and 20 minutes on the bike. By the end, you've done a full session and called it recovery. This is what guilt does to rest days. It turns them into something you have to negotiate instead of something you choose. Gym culture doesn't help. Hustle content tells you rest is weakness. Fitness influencers post no days off like it's a badge of honor. And when everyone around you treats downtime like failure, you start believing it too. But here's the hidden cost. When rest feels like wrongdoing, you can't actually recover. You can't deload properly. You can't taper before a peak. You can't take a week off after months of hard training without white-knuckling through it like you're resisting temptation. That's not discipline. That's a trap. Researchers studying exercise dependence often look at patterns like this: persistent difficulty reducing training, continuing despite reasons to stop. It's not about loving the gym too much. It's about being unable to step back even when stepping back is a smart move. The adult version of discipline isn't grinding every day. It's choosing rest deliberately because you understand it makes you better. The lifter who fears rest isn't committed. They're stuck. Real recovery isn't lazy. It's strategic. And if your gut won't let you believe that, it might be worth asking why. Number 3, you train through pain because stopping feels worse. Your shoulder has been barking at you for 3 weeks. Not just sore, something sharper, something that doesn't fade between sessions. You know you should back off. But instead, you bargain. I'll just skip overhead pressing. Then I'll just use machines. Then I'll just go lighter. Then you're back under the bar anyway, because the modified workout didn't feel like enough. You're not trying to fix it. You're trying to outlast it. And there's a difference. Gym culture rewards toughness. No excuses gets tattooed on people's bodies. Guys brag about training through torn labrums, herniated discs, stress fractures. It's framed as mental strength. What it actually is, in many cases, is a negotiation with your own body that you keep losing. Continuing to exercise despite injury or physical problems is literally one of the criteria researchers use when measuring exercise dependence. It's not a fringe behavior, it's a central pattern. And the tricky part is, it doesn't feel compulsive from the inside. It feels like commitment. The hidden cost is obvious once you zoom out. You trade months of smooth, pain-free training for weeks of limping around a problem that keeps getting worse. You don't save time. You lose it. You don't protect your progress. You sabotage it. Here's the reframe. A healthy mindset protects your ability to train next month. A compulsive mindset protects today's session at any cost. One of those is thinking long-term. The other is just feeding the ritual. Pain is information. When you stop listening, you're not being tough. You're being loud enough to drown out something important. Number 4, your schedule revolves around the gym like a religion. You don't just prefer training in the morning. You need it in the morning. And when someone suggests brunch at 9 a.m., your first thought isn't "that sounds nice." It's "that's my gym window." Work meetings get scheduled around training. Flights get booked around gym access. Vacations get vetted by hotel fitness centers. You've turned down plans, rearranged commitments, and made other people adjust because your workout time is non-negotiable. People call this having priorities. And sure, consistent training requires some structure, but there's a difference between preferring a routine and being unable to deviate from it without feeling threatened. This is one of the patterns that shows up in exercise dependence research. Large time investment and reduction in other activities. Not just spending a lot of time training. That's normal for serious lifters. But sacrificing social, occupational, or recreational life because a gym schedule can't bend. The hidden cost creeps in slowly. Your world gets smaller. Relationships get filtered through compatibility with your routine. Opportunities get passed over because they conflict with training. And the whole time, you tell yourself you're free, that you're choosing this, that everyone else just doesn't understand commitment. A committed lifter can reschedule a session when life demands it. A compulsive lifter feels destabilized by rescheduling. That's the difference. One has control. The other has a ritual pretending to be control. The tragedy here isn't caring about training. It's calling rigidity freedom. It's building a schedule so tight that nothing else fits, and believing that makes you disciplined instead of trapped. Flexibility isn't weakness. It's proof you're still running the show. Number 5, you need the gym to feel in control. Life is chaotic. Work is unpredictable. Relationships are complicated. But the gym makes sense. You show up, you follow the program, you add weight to the bar, and the numbers go up. Effort in, results out. Clear rules. No surprises. So when everything else feels like it's spinning, you train. Not to get stronger. You stopped thinking about that weeks ago. You train to quiet your head. To feel like there's one thing, just one thing, you can control perfectly. This is common. Fitness content sells it as virtue. Lock in. Stay obsessed. Control what you can control. And in small doses, it's healthy. Everybody needs something stable to anchor to. But there's a line, and it's easy to cross without noticing. The line is when the gym stops being one pillar of stability and becomes the only pillar. When training is the only place you feel calm. When everything else, your patience, your sense of self, your ability to cope, depends on whether you got your session in. The hidden cost is fragility, not strength. Because what happens when the gym gets taken away? Injury, travel, lockdowns, illness. Life happens, and if your entire sense of control is stored in one place, one disruption turns into a crisis. Researchers describe compulsive behavior as repetitive actions that persist despite consequences, often disconnected from actual goals. You're not training to improve anymore. You're training to manage anxiety. That's a job the gym wasn't built for. The gym should add stability to your life. It shouldn't be the only thing holding you up, because structures built on a single pillar don't survive pressure. They collapse. Number 6, your advice is really you seeking validation. You see someone doing half reps on the leg press. You can't resist. You walk over, offer some friendly tips, help them fix their form. They thank you. You feel good, really good, like you just did something important. Then it happens again. A newbie curling in the squat rack. A guy arching his back on rows. Someone asking about protein. Every time you step in, every time you leave feeling a little more solid, a little more seen, a little more like you matter. Here's the question you probably haven't asked yourself. Is this about them or is this about you? Gym culture rewards being the knowledgeable one, the guy who knows things, the one people come to with questions. And there's nothing wrong with sharing what you've learned. Helping people is genuinely good. But there's a difference between offering value because you have it and offering advice because you need the applause. When your identity gets fused with training, you start seeking rank. The gym becomes your status system. Giving advice becomes a way to prove to yourself and others that you belong here, that you're legit, that you're not just some guy lifting weights. The hidden cost is subtle. Your sense of self becomes dependent on external confirmation. You need people to see you as a gym person, not just a person who trains. And the more you need it, the more hollow it feels when you don't get it. If your confidence requires applause to feel real, your training is doing a psychological job it can't keep doing forever. The loudest coach in a room is often the most insecure lifter in it. Something to think about. Number 7, you secretly prefer the gym over people. Friday night, your friends want to meet up. Dinner, drinks, maybe a movie. Normal social stuff. But the moment the invite comes through, something in your chest tightens. Not excitement. Resistance. Because you know what that means. It means your Saturday morning session might be compromised. It means staying out late. It means eating off plan. It means unpredictability. So you decline. Or you go, but you're distracted the whole time, thinking about tomorrow's workout, calculating how to minimize the damage. And eventually, you just stop getting invited. The gym is easier than people. The rules are clear. Effort gets rewarded. No one flakes on you, ghosts you, or says something weird that throws off your whole week. There's no ambiguity, no rejection, no emotional labor. Just you, the weights, and a simple equation. But that simplicity comes at a cost. Reduction in other activities is one of the patterns researchers associate with exercise dependence. Not just training a lot, that's fine, but letting training replace other parts of life, choosing isolation and calling it discipline, avoiding relationships because the gym is safer. The hidden cost is obvious if you're honest. You're not building a life. You're building a bunker. The gym becomes your entire social world. And when you look up years later, you can't name the last time you chose a friend over a workout. Training should support your life, not replace it. If the gym is easier than people, that might be a reason to sit with people more, not less. Comfort isn't growth. And isolation dressed up as discipline is still isolation. Number 8, you chase more, not better. You've been training for 3 years. Strength stalled 6 months ago, but instead of adjusting, you add more sets, more sessions, more finishers, more cardio after lifting, More accessories, more volume, more time to gym. Progress hasn't budged, but the effort has skyrocketed. This is a trap of chasing more instead of better. More is visible. More feels like commitment. More gives you something to post about. The 6 a.m. alarms, the 2-hour sessions, the grind proof. Better is boring. Better is invisible. Better doesn't look impressive on camera. Tolerance and intention effects are two of the patterns researchers flagged when studying exercise dependence. Tolerance means needing more stimulus to get the same feeling. Intention effects mean consistently doing more than you planned, saying just an hour and leaving 2 hours later. Both are classic dependent style patterns, and both feel like discipline from the inside. The hidden cost is this. You stop training for results and start training for the sensation of effort, the pump, the fatigue, the feeling that you did enough. Progress becomes incidental. Pain becomes a product. When your strategy for every plateau is add more, you're not programming. You're escalating. And escalation doesn't have a ceiling. It just keeps going until you break, burn out, or finally ask yourself why more isn't working. Smart training is about precision, not punishment. The best lifters don't do the most. They do what works. If that distinction makes you uncomfortable, it's worth asking what you're actually chasing in the gym. Number 9, you can't enjoy food unless you earned it. You finish breakfast, but you're already thinking about dinner. Specifically whether you'll have earned it by then, not whether you'll be hungry, whether you deserve it, whether the workout justified the calories. On training days, eating feels fine. On rest days, it feels like cheating. Gym culture creates this. Earn your carbs. No workout, no cheat meal. Food becomes transactional, something you buy with effort, not something your body needs regardless of what you did that day. Clean versus dirty. Earned versus stolen. Moral categories for macronutrients. Here's what research shows. Compulsive exercise and disordered eating patterns overlap more than people want to admit. Not always, not everyone, but often enough that it's a recurring theme in the literature. Researchers don't just look at how much someone trains. They look at attitudes, motivations, the relationship between food and movement. That relationship can get twisted without ever becoming clinically severe. The hidden cost isn't just stress around food, though that's bad enough. It's what happens downstream. Sleep gets worse because you're anxious about meals. Social dinners become minefields. Training itself suffers because you're underfueled or mentally exhausted from negotiating every bite. Performance-focused athletes eat to train. They understand that food is the input, not the reward. Compulsively minded lifters flip that equation. They train to eat. And that flip changes everything. If food feels like permission you have to earn instead of fuel your body needs, that's worth examining. Not diagnosing, just noticing. Number 10, your identity collapses when you can't train. Imagine you get injured. Not a tweak, something serious. 6 weeks minimum. No training. Now imagine how you'd feel after day 1, day 7, day 30. Some people would be frustrated, but stable. Annoyed, sure. Missing the gym, absolutely, but still functional. Still themselves. Others would feel like they're disappearing. Not just bored, lost. Like the person they built over years is dissolving without the routine to hold them together. They don't know how to introduce themselves without mentioning the gym. They don't know what they like outside of training. They don't know who they are when they can't lift. That's identity collapse. And it's one of the clearest signs that gym culture's be obsessed messaging has gone too far. Compulsive exercise literature doesn't just focus on behavior. It highlights the psychological glue underneath. Impaired relationships, harmful consequences, and often a fusion between the activity and the self so tight that removing one damages the other. Researchers caution against conflating high commitment with addiction. Loving the gym isn't the problem. Building your whole sense of self around one activity and having that sense of self fracture the moment it's taken away is the problem. The gym can be a core part of your identity, but it can't be the whole thing. Because identities built on single pillars don't bend. They shatter. If training disappeared tomorrow, you'd still be someone. The question is whether you know who. There's a difference between discipline and compulsion. Discipline is when you choose something. Compulsion is when it chooses you. Both can look identical from the outside. Same effort, same consistency, same results. The difference is on the inside. None of these signs mean you have a problem. Most lifters who recognize a few of them are fine. Serious training naturally involves some of these patterns, at least in mild forms. What matters is whether you're in control of the behavior or whether the behavior is running you. Ask the honest questions. Can you skip a session without spiraling? Can you rest without guilt? Can you describe yourself without mentioning the gym? Can you let a meal be a meal instead of transaction? If the answers make you uncomfortable, that's not a diagnosis. It's information. Sit with it. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need to train less or feel ashamed of caring. You just need to make sure the thing you love isn't quietly becoming something you can't say no to. Discipline builds you up. Compulsion wears you down. Even when it looks productive, know the difference. If this hit different, drop a comment. If you've been through this, share your story. Subscribe if you want more content like this. And remember, training should serve your life, not replace it.